Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Buncombe County TDA board meeting. Can you go to the next slide, please? I'd like to call to order the virtual joint meeting of the BC Public Authority and BC TDA Nonprofit Corporation. Next slide, please. As always, all the documents for the meeting are online at the ashevillecvb.com. If you go to ashevillecvb.com, boards and meetings and documents and upcoming TDA meetings, you will see you'll see the notes for the meetings and everything is posted on there. Next slide, please. All right, since we're doing this virtually, we'll do our roll call. See if I just call your name, just say here. Vice Chair Gary Froba. Gary?
I'm here. I'm watching.
Thanks. Leah Ashburn.
Here.
Andrew Sullivan.
Morning.
Brenda Durden.
Here.
John Luckett.
Morning here.
John McKibben.
Here.
Kathleen is running a few minutes late, but she'll be joining us soon. James Poole.
Here.
Asheville City Council member Sandra Kilgore.
Here.
And we have Buncombe County Commissioner Robert Presley. Robert Presley, I saw him earlier on the call.
Here. Okay, I was muted.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And okay, Manch Kabir, I'm here as well. So thank you. Next slide, please. And since we have two ex officios members joining us today, I would like to take a few moments to welcome you to the board, to the authority. I say this all the time, but I wish we were in person, but this is the best we can do right now. So I do want to welcome Asheville City Council member Sandra Kilgore. She's born and raised in Asheville and is a local, as an owner and broker in charge of a local small business, Kilgore and Associates Real Estate, which is located near her childhood home in the Southside community. She was the top vote getter for Asheville City Council in November elections. And Sandra graduated from UNC Asheville and early in her career served as a flight attendant for Piedmont, British Airways, and US Airways. Good morning and welcome, Sandra Kilgore. I'm sorry, I can't see people on my screen here. Just give me 1 second.
Well, good morning. But what I would like to make one clarification.
Yeah.
I did not graduate UNCA. I attended, so I attended UNCA, but I did not graduate. Thank you.
Well, welcome. I will make sure we note that here. Thank you. Next, please. All right, I would like to also welcome Buncombe County Commissioner Robert Presley. Robert Presley is also a native of Asheville and has spent 30 years racing cars from the local level at Asheville Speedway, which is now the location of a carrier park near River Arts District. And he's gone to the highest level in NASCAR. He too is a small business owner, having opened Celebrity's Hot Dog on Brevard Road upon his retirement in the mid-2000s. Robert has served as a commissioner as a Buncombe County Commissioner since 2016. And welcome, Commissioner Presley.
Thank you.
And one of these days, I'm going to get you to serve a veggie hot dog at your store.
Okay.
All right. Next slide, please. So we should have all gotten minutes to our meetings from our last meeting. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from December 16th, 2020.
Motion, John McKibben.
Thank you, John.
Second, John Luckett.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? If not, we'll go to the roll call vote. All right, Gary Froba.
Yes.
Leah Ashburn.
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn.
Aye.
Brenda Durden.
Yes.
John Luckett.
Yes.
John McKibben.
Yes.
Can somebody let me know when Kathleen gets in, please?
I'm here.
Oh, Kathleen Mosher. Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, I got dialed in.
Okay. Can I get a vote from you for the minutes, Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
James Poole,
Yes.
thank you, and Himanshu Kabir, aye as well. All right, next slide. We'll turn it over to Don Warren over from the county for our financial report. Go ahead, Don.
Don, if you could unmute your microphone, please.
Oh, I swear I unmuted it. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start over. Can we go to the next slide? These are the financial reports for December 31st, 2020. On page 1, under the current month total revenues, we had $1,569,562 for a year-to-date of $8,584,555. That puts us at 77.1% for revenues. For the occupancy tax, we are at 75.9%. For expenditures, current month, we have $558,711. Year-to-date, $3,164,470, and we are at 20.2% of budget. The revenue subtracted from, or the expenditure subtracted from the revenue gave us a net change in fund balance of $10,851. Going to page 2, this is the 75-25% split. You can see the month room sales, which contributes to the December revenues, were down 12%. And year to date, we are down 11%. So we had been improving and now we have slipped back. Going to page 3, this is the product development fund. The life to date actuals for product projects is $13,082,863. There's a budget remaining of $13,602,137. For administrative costs, we have $347,392 and budget remaining of $170,608. Current product development amount at the very bottom available is $3,074,104. We go to page 4. This is the balance sheet. So this is a snapshot of where the assets, liabilities, and fund balance are. You can see total current liabilities for the project development fund shows $13,602,137. That ties to the outstanding balance for budget on the previous page. Going to page 5. This is the room sales by month. And you can see that room sales for November were down 14% and year-to-date 11%. You see the graphical representation of that at the top. Going to the next page, you can see how 2021 had shaped up, and then we had a sharp drop down. And page 7 shows a breakout between the hotel, motel, vacation rentals, and bed and breakfast. Percentage change for hotel motels was down 25.1% for the month, down 28. Numbers got too small. 26.9%. Vacation rentals were up 31.2% and are at 50.6% for the year. Bed and breakfast was down 7.4% and is at 7.7% down for the year. And then the final page shows the graphical representation of the information I just provided you. Does anybody have any questions on this information?
Any questions for Don or any discussion?
Okay.
No, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
All right. I will like a motion to approve the December 2020 financial reports as presented, please.
Motion, Selwyn.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second, Durden.
Thank you, Brenda. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the roll call vote again. Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben,
Yes.
Kathleen Mosher,
Yeah.
James Poole,
Yes.
and Himanshu Kabir, aye. Thank you. All right, well, moving right along. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Finance Committee. And this is for information for the board itself. So we are appointing the following members to the Finance Committee: John Luckett as the chair, Kathleen Mosher, and Chip Craig. Don't believe we need a motion on this, correct? Gary, did you have a comment?
No.
There's no motion required. I'm on
Okay.
you.
Thank you. We'll go to the next slide. All right, so you can go to the next slide, please. So just a quick discussion on the jobs recovery fund that we were able to do last year. And if you can remember Senate Bill 704, which enabled us, the TDA, to establish a one-time fund for emergency grants of up to $50,000, which were available for businesses, tourism-related businesses. And we were able to do that in a very short period of time to get the funds out that were in the TPDF in our community to help our businesses as they were opening back up, to either purchase inventory, to hire people back, and to safely reopen, to buy PPE and stuff like that. So the mission of the fund was to preserve and safely reopen the region's unique and diverse small business ecosystem and protect tourism-related jobs. The next few slides will have a presentation from Mountain BizWorks, and because they administered the grant for us, and they will provide us a report on how the funds have helped in the community, and did we actually accomplish our mission. The quick timeline to see how short and tight it was in the beginning here. The May 4th, the bill was signed into law. May 5th, we announced the program. On a few days, we had already were working with Mountain BizWorks to administer the fund. And in a very short, again, from May 4th to May 15th, we opened up applications. And as you can see, about 444 businesses requesting $13.5 million. And as you remember, the fund was $5 million. By June 10th, all applications are reviewed and scored. And by 19th, the funds were actually approved and the awardees were notified. And all awards executed and funded by June 30th. So from May to June, really a lot of work and a lot of effort went into this process. And a big thank you to Mountain BizWorks for turning this grant and making it out in the community in such a short period of time. So thank you for that. On December 31st, they did receive 6 months worth of reports, and they got reports from all of the grantees, all 394. And again, June 2021, which is the final 12-month reports, which will be due. But in the interim, I think we did ask them to go back and send a survey out. And I'd like to welcome Matt Raker and Noah Wilson of Mountain BizWorks to give us a report.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Matt Raker. I'm the Executive Director at Mountain BizWorks. And it's good to be with you again. This pandemic, we all know, has been the most challenging thing ever to face our local businesses. And I think that our community has really come together, recognizing how much we are a small business driven economy and community, and how essential that is to our unique place and quality of life. It has come together, I think, in so many important ways to support those small businesses. And one of the most substantive ways has been the Buncombe County Tourism Jobs Recovery Fund. So I just want to thank the TDA board and all of the Explore Asheville team for your leadership on this. And at Mountain BizWorks, we were very pleased that some of our capabilities were able to be useful in administering and deploying these funds. So as Chairman said, part of the program included a 6-month check-in with all of our grant recipients, as well as a 1-year check-in. So we've just concluded the 6-month interim progress reporting period. And so I want to turn over to my colleague, Noah Wilson, who's our Director of Sector Development and who also led this program and continues to lead it, to summarize the findings of that report.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Chairman. If we can go to the next slide, please. So kind of again, a quick run through the numbers. It's a $5 million fund with 394 grants awarded, ranging between $2,000 and $30,000 per entity. This fund is going to preserve, retain, recover, or create 4,787 jobs within our local community. 283 full grants. Those are the grants that range in size from $5,000 to $30,000 were provided, as well as 111 micro grants between $2,000 and $5,000. Next slide. So one of the core things we looked at this was equity. We wanted to make sure this was an equitably distributed fund within the community. We knew that the background rate, the percentage of entrepreneurship within our community, 10% of businesses in the community are minority led within Buncombe County. We want to make sure we beat that mark, and we did. We had 18% of the fund by dollars went to minority led businesses. Similarly, 55% of the fund by dollars went to women led businesses within the community. Next slide, please. Another kind of key number here, Himanshu noted it earlier, 100% of the businesses who received grants completed their reports for this program in the 6-month interim stage. And that is really remarkable. If you've ever done grants administration, to have 100% of businesses completing their reports, getting all those, and even businesses who closed in this period of time still completed their reports, got that information into us, which is tremendously helpful. And I just want to really honor those businesses for stepping up and doing that. It is not easy when you're as busy as people are right now to step back into that time. So thank you to all the businesses who completed their reports and got them into us. Next slide, please. So this is the fun stuff. This is our report data. The first key piece of data is business status. We asked all the businesses, where are they right now? Are they open? If so, how are they operating? So if, again, the core goals of this fund were to preserve, reopen, and rehire, preserve businesses and reopen them and then rehire employees, 97.5% of these businesses remain in operation to date. So that is, again, a remarkable statistic for our community in terms of preserving businesses and keeping them open and operating. This fund has done its job. We're seeing only 2.5% of businesses permanently closed. It is worth noting, however, that another 20% of businesses are temporarily closed, for the winter. Some of them also are looking for new spaces. And another 60% are open with reduced hours or offerings. So, what we're seeing is businesses are staying open and operating, but they're kind of trying to slim down their costs right now to make it through the winter. Next slide, please. Another headline number here in terms of jobs impacts. Again, a lot of this is all about jobs and about preserving and rehiring those jobs. And so we saw, this really hit home for me, kind of helping to develop this slide, looking at how fast jobs were lost during the pandemic. Between March 10th, the governor's emergency order came down for COVID, and May 1st, when we asked for grant applications to start coming in, we lost almost 3,000 jobs in this sector among only the businesses in the fund alone. We've brought back 1,981 of those jobs into the community in the period of time between May 1st and the end of December. So in terms of, again, rehiring employees, bringing employment back into this core sector of the community, and all the impacts that means for people, those jobs aren't just that person, it's their families, it's their communities, it's the people that they spend money with locally as well. It's a tremendous impact. Next slide, please. We also asked, beyond the numbers, some of the kind of more human questions, asking what this meant to businesses to get these funds, how they had helped and what needs they have. We're going to first kind of cover what these grants meant to businesses. So those three kind of core categories in today's presentation on that. The first is how it supported critical expenses, kind of lifted that pressure from businesses. The second is how it powered pivots and leveraged additional resources. And the third, and how this showed our community's belief in the value of small businesses. And for many businesses, that was almost the most important part of this, more than almost anything else, was just that level of support and of just the community's belief in them got them through some hard times. So let's go ahead and share some of those quotes. This first one's a great example from a local venue that used their grant to pay for core expenses like payroll and utilities and PPE and rent, which freed up funds for them to build a stage that was core in bringing the operating revenue they needed to make it through to this time. Another example here in which a local brewery was able to hire back a tasting room manager and other staff, which freed up their leadership to focus on the big picture thinking required to kind of get ready for the winter. And this really it gave them the space to pivot and be prepared. Finally, another example of these critical expenses is a retailer who was closed for 200 days and use these funds to buy the inventory they needed to reopen. And they were only able to reopen because of these funds. In terms of powering pivots, these are an example from a restaurant that use this money to open out outdoor dining spaces, buy the seating and the outdoor amenities to have a good space outside and bring in revenue, and also do the safety medications and HVAC work to have air purification, both indoors for the indoors and safe spaces outside, and now make it into the winter, be able to operate during this period of time. Finally, this is a kind of beloved local nonprofit who again use these funds to have the space needed to kind of reimagine how they do business and how they operate, and are kind of ending the year a lot of lessons learned in a better position. And then here's that piece again about how this showed belief in our small businesses. This is a beloved local venue, very connected in the community, that spoke about how they've talked with a lot of their peers. And these funds went above and beyond just the money itself, but showed how this community recognized what they bring, and that their city and our county and our community is better because of these businesses and what they do, and how this filled gaps that government programs from the federal and state government were not able to do at that time, and just were this incredibly bright spot in a very difficult time. One more example from a local spa and wellness company that spoke to how, and this is just such a on point for this program, the benefit of being gainfully open, providing good wages to our team. We're also in turn supporting businesses around our city. It brings it full circle. That's why we feel lucky to be doing business in the city of Asheville in the first place. This, in many ways, just kind of exemplifies what this grant was about and how it has done its job in helping these businesses. Now, again, these reports came in December 31. We all know this is a very challenging time. It's a hard time even without a pandemic. It is much more so now during COVID. And so we really also asked, what challenges and needs do you have? What can we do to help? And where are you in your world? And so here's three kind of core areas we're going to focus on today during this presentation. The first is the need for more marketing assistance, kind of to bring customers to the door. The second is addressing operating restrictions that have been making it hard for businesses to stay open and to stay functioning. The third is a need for more help and guidance, both for businesses themselves and for the community. So first off, just a kind of quick understanding of financial condition across these businesses. We asked them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very financially sound and 5 being very financially challenged. How are you doing on financial condition? And so one thing that's really important to understand, again, if we had 97.5% of businesses made it through to this period of time, 40% of those businesses are still either very or somewhat financially challenged. Another 42% are at least slightly concerned about the current state of things. And so their financial status wise, 80% of businesses are either financially challenged or concerned, with 40% of those being financially challenged, 18% are financially sound. So again, looking at how can we help address this? One thing is the TDA and Explore Asheville and other partners doing their job to bring visitors back and kind of build a thriving community in that way, get people to the front door. I spoke about how they wanted to see that happen. Go to the next slide, please. So here's a business, a tour operator, speaking about how they want to bring people to Asheville who want to keep our staff and each other safe, right? There's a sense that, and this was true across all the businesses, we heard a lot of people saying, we want to do this right. It's so important, these businesses, that we do things in a safe way, that we encourage also people who are coming here have the same mores and the same values we do around safety, around masking, around distancing, around doing the things we need to do to address this pandemic, keep one another safe, slow the spread, and kind of bring things back down so we can open it again and be healthier and safer. This slide was made before the commissioners passed a resolution last night. So it's great to see this person was speaking about how much that 30% operating capacity cap was hurting their business. And it was that combination of that plus infection rates that made them close down for the winter and just do takeout only. And they've been able to kind of open and do well over the summer and fall, despite the restrictions that were happening. So again, thank you to the county commissioners and county leadership for bringing that 30% capacity back up to 50% yesterday in their meeting. I do want to note also that there's still a lot of restrictions for bars. We heard a lot from bars and venues about the challenges they're facing beyond that 30% as well. So just anything we can do to help address those things will be key for them. And then businesses spoke a lot about the need for more help and more guidance, both for themselves. So we heard a lot about those needs, but also for their employees. And so I want to just kind of highlight one of these quotes that speaks about businesses see their employees as family. They've known them for a long time. These are staff who they've known for decades oftentimes. And so this person was basically speaking about how hard it is to talk with their staff who are struggling, with oftentimes with lower incomes, with less throughput in the system, and trying to figure out how to make it work. And so anything we can do to help these businesses staff and help our employees, help our community right now is going to be very impactful. Similarly, they looked at the bigger community beyond even their own staff to their partners in the community. This person spoke about the worries about the vibrance of our town's art scene and especially live music. And that a lot of artists have been hit hard and haven't had this kind of support the broader community has. A lot of programs at PPP don't really support independent artists nearly as well as they do kind of larger operators. And so there's some key needs in the community around these sole proprietors and especially in the arts community in that world. If we want to have the kind of town we love, these are key things. So again, amazing impacts and some big challenges ahead. Big picture facts and findings: $5 million in grants made, 394 recipients, of which 97.5% are still in operation as of December 31, with 3,341 jobs retained and rehired in the community. Core takeaways: again, 6 months in, we've had a tremendous impact in this fund's mission of preserving and safely reopening the region's unique and diverse small business ecosystem and protecting tourism-related jobs. This fund has done an amazing job to date. The question we have to ask right now is, how do we help these businesses be even healthier 6 months from now? And we hear from them on June 30th, 2021. And so what's next in our work? Obviously, continuing to follow up with these businesses. How can we keep helping them? How do we support them, secure other and help them secure other relief, i.e. PPP and Save Our Stages grants? These are kind of key elements for a lot of these businesses. And I also want to thank the county commissioners again for establishing a grant fund last night in their county commissioners meeting. And so, how do we help all these businesses get access to those funds? What can we do as a community to help grow that fund as well? I know they're looking for community donations and contributions to that fund. All the things we can do with financial relief are absolutely key. Beyond financial relief, there's also additional assistance needed, right? So we have a whole pool of 394 reports that we're kind of combing through as a staff right now to say, what else can we be doing for these businesses to help them on the business side of things, to continue to grow their operations, to continue to manage through these challenges. I'm working with the TDA, and one key thing we heard was the need for marketing assistance. I know y'all will be discussing that later on today during your meeting. And keeping an eye again towards final reports due June 30th of 2021. We'll really be looking at what questions are we asking to understand the impact of this fund and what we can do next. And again, how can we as a community show up for these businesses and help them make it through? If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Just to thank you, Noah, the work that y'all did over I think I looked at like a 10-day period and reviewing, I don't know, an average of 44 businesses a day in order to make get the money in their hands as quickly as possible, because everybody was feeling such a strain, was just remarkable. And seeing the follow-up is really helpful, and look forward to seeing what you can learn in June too. But thanks so much to Mountain BizWorks.
You're so welcome. Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are a quiet bunch this morning. Any questions or discussion on this? Thank you again, Noah and Matt and Mountain BizWorks. You guys have a great team there, and like Leah mentioned, to get the money out in the community as fast as we possibly could. And thank you for going back and asking for feedback from the grantees and presenting it today.
Absolutely. And I want to say we will have a report coming out, a written report to kind of accompany this presentation. That'll be happening next week as we kind of keep coming through this data, but I'll make sure that y'all get a copy of that report as we analyze more of these details by business size, by business type, et cetera. Just, let us know if you have any more questions. We're happy to answer them. And thank you again for your support of this program and this fund. This $5 million fund just for context, was larger than some entire states had for the tourism industry. You really stepped up. It was a big deal. I think a lot of people don't even recognize how big of a deal it was relative to what's happening nationally. So thank you for running a national size fund for our community and making things happen here. This really changed a lot of businesses' lives and a lot of people's lives as a result. So thank you so much.
No, it's a lot of, there's a lot of back behind the scenes, as you guys know, that happened to get to where we were that last time we did this. So yeah, so thank you to a lot of people that stepped up and made the calls and got involved. So
absolutely.
If any other questions for Noah or Matt? If not, we'll go on to our next slide, please. Thank you once again.
Great. Matt and Noah, thank you for all of your work and also for leadership on this call and not on this call today for making such an investment in the community happen. But as stated, our job's not over with that. So we are continuing our efforts to ensure that there are pathways to additional assistance and access and awareness of those additional resources to our important community partners. So just last week, we hosted a webinar on the new PPP funding to ensure that local partners are plugged into those relief resources available to them. As noted, the second round of PPP is a bit easier, which is important for our community partners in application. It's also much clearer in terms of forgiveness of loans through the process. It also increases the opportunity for reimbursement from 2.5 times to 3.5 times for support for restaurant and lodging partners. It also importantly opens up to sole proprietors and contractors for those arts communities. And importantly, as noted just earlier, there's a Save Our Stages new program that focuses on venues as well. And even for our craft brewers, there's a tax relief program in there. So I'm sure Lee is aware of that, that program as well. But just to give a note on that, we had 90 partners registered to attend the webinar. And then importantly, for those that could not join us, we sent that information out for them to be able to use themselves. And that had a 37% open rate, which is double the industry average. So we know that people are looking for that information. And we'll continue that communications pipeline ourselves and with our partners at Mountain BizWorks and throughout the community to ensure that those additional resources can get into our businesses and entrepreneurs to help support them through to the spring. Next, earlier was just mentioned the One Buncombe Fund. So going to the next slide. As you may recall, in April of 2020, the community did come together to create the One Buncombe Fund and raise nearly $1.4 million for individuals and small businesses. The BC TDA stepped up at that time and was a lead sponsor for the fund and contributed $50,000 from our earned revenue account. With that, there were 1,000 individuals supported and 95 small businesses were able to retain 685 local jobs. Just last night, the County Commission approved $150,000 in new funds to combine with $50,000 that were paid back from previous loans for a total of $200,000. So our recommendation today to the board is that we would like to contribute $40,000 in earned revenue, which again, for just clarity, our earned revenue funds are non-occupancy tax dollars. And so they're not subject to the state legislative mandates, and they're primarily used to support the community. So going to the next slide, we'd like to request a proposed budget amendment in the amount of $21,235 from earned revenue to allow for a proposed $40,000 contribution to the One Buncombe Fund. So Chairman, I'd like to turn it over to you on the next slide to have any discussion and motion for consideration.
Thank you, Vic. Any discussion on what's on this 40,000 contribution?
Himanshu, is the money directed
anywhere in specifically, or is it just generally to the One Buncombe Fund?
I believe it's going to go to the One Buncombe Fund, yes. To be administered. I think the last time around, can't remember who administered the One Buncombe Fund, but
It will be administered by Mountain BizWorks in the second round.
Yeah, that's correct. It'll go into One Buncombe, and then we will contract with Mountain BizWorks, and they will administer the grants and loan programs for businesses.
So this is just going towards businesses, it's not going towards individuals?
That is correct. Just so you're all aware, as far as individual assistance, the county recently received a grant for $7.8 million for emergency rental assistance. It's actually emergency rental and utility assistance. So we will be administering that through our general administration through HHS. So we'll be able to help a lot of individuals.
do you know the time frame on that, Don, by any chance? Or
We are working on getting all the rules set up related to these funds. So I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks, we will be able to start issuing funds. In the meantime, we have some funds from One Buncombe that were repayments of loans that we have given to HHS as a bridge until we can get these funds allocated.
thank you.
I guess just as an organization, this is money that we're not required to give anywhere. And it would be my preference that we give it to individuals. We've given $5 million to businesses, which as Noah and Matt pointed out, is more than some states gave out to businesses. Having something come from us that's supporting the workers who are struggling a bit more. I wish there was an opportunity to do that. I know that the One Buncombe Fund has done support to individuals. If there's any way of directing it towards individuals, it would be something I would suggest.
Thanks, Andrew. Anyone else on discussion on this, or?
Just a quick question. How much of the funds are loans and how much is grants, if any?
Of the One Buncombe?
I will answer from what I have received from Tim Love, but Don, you can confirm that this go round for the second round of the One Buncombe Fund, they're grants, so they're forgivable.
And I also want to, I'm sure everybody understands and knows this, that when the funds, even for the 5 million that went into the jobs recovery, it was so that people could hire back employees and be able to open back up safely and provide the safe environment for people to work. So yes, it's directly not going there, but indirectly it is impacting everybody. So yeah.
That's an important note, Chairman, and that is something that Tim noted in the presentation to the County Commission last night. That's how quickly things are going here. But that it is for retaining jobs. And so I'm happy to supply that deck to the board so that they have all that background and how the fund will be administered.
Himanshu, I'd like to support what you just said because, supporting businesses, supporting individuals through a lot of ways. There's so much that I think we have to take into account and how much businesses try to do to help their teams, not just through employment, but sometimes in other ways as well. So by supporting these businesses and keeping them afloat, then we're really helping individuals, I think.
But I do also want to recognize Andrew's point about if you're an individual who doesn't have a business, but you are part of this economy and part of our industry, then yes, you're not directly benefiting from One Buncombe maybe, or the $5 million that we put in last year. But I think, I'm glad I did not know about the county getting funding from the federal government that would be provided towards that. We can advocate our commissioners to put more, towards our industry or towards individuals maybe that aren't impacted by this. So.
Sure.
Right.
Our artists, our musicians, our culture, they're not getting the PPP funds. They're not getting these funds from other sources. Businesses have a lot more avenues to get help than individuals in our area.
I agree.
I also want to point out that the county also got a CDBG grant for $900,000. I forgot to mention that. So in addition to the 7.8 million, we have a lot of funds that we can use to assist individuals. But we don't have a lot of funds where we can assist businesses. So I mean, that's something to keep in mind is how are we, where are the funds coming from and what can we use them for?
Thank you, Don. I mean, that's a significant amount of money if we can figure out. I'm sure you guys are working on that, so I'll let you guys do what you need to do. But that's good to know that there's almost $8 million that are coming in from outside the community that will help individuals here locally. So thank you for that update. So, is there any more discussion on this? If not, then I'll take a motion, which reads on there, to approve the budget amendment as presented, transferring $21,235 from earned revenue / appropriated fund balance to earned revenue / program support, which will allow for a $40,000 contribution from the BC TDA to the One Buncombe Fund to help the local community with COVID recovery.
So moved, Ashburn.
Thank you, Leah.
Second, Froba.
Thank you, Gary. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to go to the roll call vote, please. Gary?
Yay.
Leah Ashburn?
Yes.
Andrew Sullivan?
Nay.
Brenda Durden?
Yes.
John Luckett?
Yes.
John McKibben?
Yes.
Kathleen Mosher?
Yes.
James Poole?
Yes.
And Himanshu Karve is yes as well. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have President CEO's report.
Thank you, Chairman. Going to the next slide. Don in his financial report was able to paint the picture of where we are in our fiscal year. And importantly for many in our tourism community, including our lodging partners, are budgeted on a calendar year. So taking a look at our lodging occupancy for 2020, you can see for our hotel partners, it was one of the most challenging years on record, going from a healthy year-round occupancy of 73% in 2019, dropping down 32% to end the year just under 50%. When you look at our vacation rental part of the community, they actually saw a positive increase from 58% in 2019 to 64% in 2020. So that's an 8% increase year over year, which is positive news in that our local residents participating in the short-term vacation rental market are seeing revenue in their pockets for visitors returning to the community. What's important to note here is that it's lodging occupancy, but it is an indicator for our tourism community of the wider impact throughout the Asheville area. So as we've noted, it's other businesses, establishments, creators and makers and outfitters that this negative impact overall trickles down into the community. So it's really important for us to think about our role within this community and ecosystem in working through how we get economic vitality back across the community. So looking at our strategic imperatives on the next slide, which is what's going to be our guiding principles moving forward here, is balanced recovery and sustained growth, encourage safe and responsible travel, and engage and invite more diverse audiences to share in our community and culture here. So balanced recovery and sustained growth, we're thinking a lot about how do we want tourism to look different and feel different as we build back together. Importantly, on encouraging safe and responsible travel, that was noted in the Tourism Jobs Recovery Fund feedback, is how do we educate our visiting community and also balance the health and safety of our local residents, as well as the visitors who come here. So we really want to think about how we are educating and aligning with brands and with visitors who have the shared values of our community at heart. Engaging and inviting more diverse audiences. Importantly, we want to get new visitors in the front doors of our businesses to help support them and the jobs for local residents. So Marla and Ashley are going to be talking about the framework we're building for marketing and messaging to do just that. So one note on safe and responsible travel. This is certainly not a new part of our messaging here. The community's been working collaboratively for months on this effort. So I did just want to remind everyone of the local public safety campaign that was launched in November of last year and continues today. So there are flyers, posters, sidewalk decals, clings, and many informational pieces that really focus on the 3 W's. This effort was funded through a federal CARES Act grant and was a collaborative effort across the city, the county, and the Asheville Arts Council, where there was a competition with local artists who were paid for their work to be able to have the bear safely tell us how we need to be respecting one another throughout our public spaces. So if local businesses are interested in continuing these efforts, there are still materials available. You can get them at the Asheville Visitor Center, the Asheville Downtown Association, or right here from our Explore Asheville Community Engagement team. So there are always, there's always information available to you. And just the next slide will show you that we're going to be working on planning for that comeback, for how we can work together and build back in that balanced and sustainable way. So please mark your calendars for the BC TDA annual planning retreat, Thursday, March 25th and Friday, March 26th. So more details will be coming for you and your planning consideration. Then in your packets, and that will be posted publicly, are our staff's recaps that shows their hard work for the community, how we're performing from the destination dashboard, and I'm always available for information and conversation as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marla so she can talk through the marketing and messaging update and where we're headed next.
Good morning. I'm here with Ashley Keetle from our agency, 360i, this morning to provide insights on travel sentiment. And then, as Vic alluded to, share an outline of our media and messaging strategies as we move towards spring. Next, Daniel. But before we look ahead, I wanted to take a look at what we're doing now. So on the heels of a successful holiday effort, we are turning our attention to a couple of promotions for winter. 2 are a little bit more condensed, and 1 is more expansive, but each in its own way is responsive to the needs of ensuring that our tourism businesses can remain open as best they can during these difficult winter months. So let's go to the next slide. As you may know, Asheville Restaurant Week just ended on Monday, and we supported this chamber event that was executed on behalf of restaurants through a sponsorship using our Earned Revenue Fund, along with the marketing tactics that you see here to help drive participation in what ended up being mostly a takeout focused event this year. Our efforts via exploreasheville.com sent nearly 7,500 external clicks from our Restaurant Week landing page to the Chamber's Asheville Restaurant Week page, which had more details on the promotion. And visitors to our website were greeted with a homepage slider along with fly-ins on our weekend restaurants and Foodtopia web pages, which resulted in 27,000 impressions and a high level of engagement. Social media referred about 10% of the web traffic to the landing page, with search accounting for most of the remainder. And then those folks click through to the Chamber's website. Next. So Curated Asheville is a new promotion this winter. It's somewhat grounded in our cozy winter themed promotion from previous years, but with a COVID safety twist for 2021. The aim here is to promote small, more custom experiences for couples, solos, or just small pods such as a family. And the activities offer social distancing and encourage responsible travel while also assisting these smaller community businesses to make it through the winter, as I alluded to earlier. So far, 34 experiences are available. The promotion kicks off next week, and we will use social media, email promotions, and web pop-ups and sliders to direct to this landing page. So we are optimistic about generating some traffic to these small businesses. Next. So I'm sure you had this marked on your calendar, but yesterday was National Plan a Vacation Day. But we began leveraging this impending event last week with a small paid social campaign promoting sign up for the Asheville Visitor Guide. Nearly 1,200 requests for the Asheville Visitor Guides came in as a result of this lead generation campaign. The event was also showcased on our site yesterday with a takeover. And then we also used it and incorporated it through social posts that were intended to inspire future travel. So next, let's go ahead now and take a look at a few insights on the current state of mind of American travelers from Destination Analyst's most recent wave of travel sentiment research. Next. Americans continue to be concerned in the moment, but are more optimistic about the future. And that more hopeful outlook for the near future is lifting their excitement levels about travel despite those current anxieties. So in the past week, nearly 60% of travelers say they are excited about the prospect of leisure travel in 2021, which is up 5 points from the previous wave and is actually a pandemic era high. Next. That excitement to travel, of course, then goes hand in hand with an appetite for inspiration and openness to learning about new experiences and destinations to visit, with more than 56% saying they're excited to hear about opportunities right now that may fuel their desire to travel. And in fact, in the last week alone, 39% indicated they daydreamed about leisure travel. 30% said they talked about travel with friends or relatives, and 27% researched travel ideas online. Next. So I guess it's a little bit obvious, but vaccine expectations are really appearing to inform decisions about hitting the road. We've kind of seen this throughout the waves of research. And now that it's here, you can see how apparent it is. Data collected last week shows the percent of Americans with planned leisure trips really jumps up in May with that expectation of more vaccines administered. Right now, 26% of American travelers say they already have plans to travel in July. And in the near term, over the next 3 months, you can see travel looks a little bit more muted compared to the rest of the year. Although approximately 47% of Americans do anticipate traveling and taking a trip during the next 12 weeks. Nearly 75% of those trips are expected to be within about a 250 miles radius of the traveler's residence. I would also add that there's some additional hope on the horizon with yesterday's announcement that more vaccine is being secured. And with that announcement came the goal of vaccinating nearly the entire population by the end of summer. So I think our fingers are all crossed. Next. So just to kind of recap that and build on what Vic said earlier, we'll continue to monitor the data and the landscape as we transition back into the marketplace later in spring with a message that is grounded in safe and responsible travel. We'll be doing so with the understanding that travelers are at different stages of readiness right now, which leads us to a strategy to meet them at those intersections. And messages that uphold safe visitation are not only paramount now, but in the future, so that visitors feel comfortable and are encouraged to be responsible. We also need to share information as people are in the dreaming stage to ensure that Asheville area is in the consideration set of places to visit as they think about their future trips and then begin planning. That's going to be critical to our recovery. And collectively, our integrated marketing efforts, including paid media, will support the tourism community by setting the stage for a return to visitors to help pave that road to recovery and provide the marketing assistance that Noah also indicated was expected. So these tenets serve as the underpinning for a media strategy and messaging, which Ashley Keetle will now share as we go to the next slide.
Thanks, Marla. Hello, everyone. As we look ahead to spring and summer and balance recovery and sustained growth, We have been working on our marketing plans, as Marla and Vic have mentioned, to reach the right people at the right time in the right places. Today, we'll share highlights of our plan, including how we're reevaluating our targeting approach, how we'll use media to support the business and marketing objectives, and lastly, we'll share what's next as we continue to plan for spring and beyond. So we can go to the next one. Our strategy supports our business and marketing objectives. The business objectives include generating overnight demand to contribute to the community's economic recovery, building back the visitor base to support local businesses and jobs, and prioritizing longer overnight stays to ease the impact on infrastructure and to maximize the value of each visitor to the community. Our marketing objectives, which directly correlate to our business objectives, include reaching a high-value audience by attracting visitors that share Asheville's unique values and will spend throughout the community, crafting an ownable message to emphasize the values and personality of Asheville, and position the destination as a distinct mountain community unlike any other, and driving consideration and intent to travel to Asheville for multi-night stays, as well as fuel recovery through the seasons to generate balanced and sustained ROI. We can go to the next one. We've taken a data-driven approach to reevaluating our target audience to ensure we're engaging with and inviting the right people to visit. And we've also re-examined our market list to reach our audience in markets that are most likely to generate longer overnight stays. Next. Given the amount of change experienced over the last year, we've reevaluated our audience, previously the base and test audiences, to make sure we're inviting people to visit that are in the market to travel or willing to travel soon, people who share our values and will be responsible visitors, people who can travel to the destination safely and directly, and people who will spend with local businesses and support jobs for local residents. On the next one, through a combination of data points and through the use of our proprietary tools, we have evolved our audience segments to the two that you see here. Meet the established explorers and the diverse adventurers. Both groups index high against attributes that show they have shared values with the Asheville community, and they have interests and travel preferences that align with what Asheville has to offer. When we look at both groups together, we will be able to drive to a large variety of accommodation types and many features of the Asheville area. When it comes to our established explorer, they are looking for quality time with their favorite people when traveling. They're a bit older, they're highly educated with a higher household income. They exhibit traditional values with an interest in learning new things. They enjoy activities like hiking, outdoors, arts, dining, and shopping that all align really well with Asheville's offerings. And they show a preference towards resort and premium lodging that align with Asheville's amazing lodging options. Our diverse explorer is looking to understand a destination through all its entry points. They are younger, in their mid-20s and 30s. They're diverse and open-minded. They believe in personal responsibility and are invested in keeping up on culture and the latest trends. Our diverse explorers enjoy activities like spending time outdoors, dining out, shopping and live music, all again that align to Asheville's offerings. And they also look for budget-friendly, value-based accommodations, which is a really nice complement to the resort and premium preferences of the established explorer. And one last note to make on the audiences, we will be serving different messages to each group that are most relevant to them based on their interests, all under the same campaign umbrella. Next. In addition to our audiences, we also re-examined our market list, given all the change over the last year. We developed a market matrix to guide the markets where we'll run media to engage with our audience. The matrix takes into consideration points like total rental market, which is an important one because we're prioritizing markets that data tells us people are staying longer in Asheville in order to ease the impact to infrastructure and maximize the value per visitor. We also looked at total audience population in each market to get the most return on our media investment. And we looked at airport data to understand the fly markets that are an opportunity. Guided by the market matrix, we are balancing drive and fly markets to fuel the business and recovery. We're targeting drive markets within a 6.5-hour radius of Asheville, with an emphasis on those that prove longer overnight stays to capitalize on the popularity we've seen of road trips since the onset of COVID-19. And we'll also target opportunity fly markets, including Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, and West Palm Beach. We see a growing share of arrivals and overnight stays from these Florida markets, even through COVID. So on the next one, our media strategy was developed to reach our 2 audience groups in the markets we shared to support our business and marketing objectives. On the next one, first, we want to reach the right people. We talked about our audience groups, but in short, we want to engage diverse audiences that have shared values and a focus on traveling safely and responsibly. This is highly important. We also want to engage with them at the right time. We will meet people where they are safely and responsibly, whether they are dreaming of a trip later in the year, considering a trip soon, or ready to hit the road. That is why you see this funnel to the right. We're going to drive awareness of Asheville to invite the right people to visit, and we'll engage with them so they consider a trip to Asheville and show signals that they have intent to visit. And lastly, we want to reach them in the right place through media channels and partners that allow us to reach our audience efficiently and that also provide flexibility in this constantly changing marketplace. So on the next one, let's talk more about the right place. Our plan includes a variety of media channels in order to deliver on our strategy of right people, right time, and right place. Connected TV, or CTV for short, are the streaming services like Hulu and Roku, to name a few. CTV allows us to reach a large amount of our audience in a premium environment with video ads for visual storytelling. CTV is a highly effective channel to reach our audience, especially given its growth in the last year. We've seen people's viewing habits really change through COVID, and 50% of all Americans are watching ad-supported streaming content, which is an 18% increase since pre-COVID levels. In addition to CTV, we're also using display to serve digital ads across thousands of websites. And we're including high impact digital partners that provide immersive, attention-getting creative to break through the clutter. We'll use social channels like Facebook and Instagram, which have proven effective for us. And social is great for its flexibility and ability to test messages quickly. Travel endemic partners will allow us to reach those actively researching, planning, and looking to book a trip. And we are also able to reach those looking for competitive destinations to entice them to visit Asheville instead. And lastly, we'll use search, namely Google, to reach those searching for Asheville or similar vacations, and also those searching for our competitors. Overall, you can see we have a really robust media mix that will allow us to reach the right people where they are in their planning journey across a host of channels and partners. Video through CTV, social, and display will comprise a significant part of the media mix. So on the next slide, what's next? As we look ahead to spring, we are continuing to closely monitor the landscape to guide our decision-making on the best time to re-enter the market. We are hoping to launch in spring as long as we're seeing indicators that it is safe to do so. We know people are excited to plan a trip through the data Marla shared, and our strategy includes meeting them where they are in their trip planning journey, including dreaming of a trip for later down the road. So being able to advertise to them starting in spring to get on their list now for a trip later is beneficial. Additionally, we're developing a campaign message that is relevant for the moment and consumers' mindsets now, differentiates Asheville, and focuses on safety and responsibility. So with that, are there any questions?
Do we have
Come on,
a timing
guys.
worked out?
There you go, Andrew.
Okay. Do we have any timing worked out? As what? When are you thinking of getting some of this going?
Andrew, we we don't have exact dates for when we're going into the marketplace yet. As I said, we'll continue to monitor those insights that we're getting and make some determination based on a number of different variables, including the similarly looking at kind of positivity rates and such as well. We'll keep a number of variables in mind, but we anticipate, as I said, sometime in spring.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Marla or Ashley?
Will there be new ads being placed, Ashley, or will it piggyback on prior work?
So we are working on a new campaign message that will use some of our existing assets that we've had in the past, but we really wanted to look at messaging that felt right for the moment, but had also some longevity in it. So we are looking at new campaign messaging and working through that with Vic, Marla, and team as we speak.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions or discussion points at this time? So Vic and Marla, and as you guys are looking at new creatives and whatnot, I think we've as discussed this in the past about using local talent, using local businesses as much as we can to support them, especially right now. So we do have a lot of talent in this community. So just keep that in mind, please, as we're going forward and then looking at this campaign. So, or no, not just this campaign, but all of it going forward. So, thank you.
Noted for sure.
Thank you all.
If there's no other questions, we'll keep moving. Thank you. All right, we're at the point where Ms. Kilgore, our council member, ready for an update from City Council. I can't see my screen. Let me expand.
Can you
Is
see
she
me
on?
now?
Oh, there you are. Yeah. Hello.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Basically, of course, everyone. First, I'd like to say I really enjoyed the reports this morning. They were so informational. I learned so much about what you do and all the benefits that you have brought to the community and how much you've been out there helping during this difficult time with the pandemic. Uh, but what I do want to say that, of course, giving you an update as far as council, I'm quite sure the one thing that you're concerned about is what is going on with the hotel moratorium. We will have a meeting tomorrow scheduled where we will dig more into trying to work out the kinks as far as dealing with the hotel overlay program that we're actually working on getting that implemented. However, we are, like I said, we're working through a few of the areas that a lot of people, the council, have some concerns with. But as overall, I think the overlay project is something that we can use. I feel that it sort of expedite hotel approval by setting up a point system, which basically has that could actually benefit the community. And the benefits consist of things like money. They get earned points by donating or contributing money to the housing fund or to living wages and things of that nature. And not only that, the hotel overlay actually sort of lay out where hotels would be most appropriate in the city. So it's sort of, like I said, it expedites things for its hotels. It takes a lot of that responsibility off council. And so we can actually deal with a lot of other issues that we have to deal with. And of course, there is the 115 room basically cutoff that anything that's over 115 rooms will have to go to council for approval. But like I said, we're still working through that. And as far as the council also voted in the procedural rules and regulations for the grievances for the Civil Service Board. That particular board had not been updated since 2009 and was pretty much operating without rules and regulations. So that was voted in by council last night also. Other than that, the APD has actually launched its transparency dashboard for the community. And basically that sort of just gives more transparency, more information to the community so they feel more comfortable with the APD. They also have a tip app, which basically offers real-time communications between people that wanted to actually report crimes, and also have a two-way, provides a two-way uh, 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 two-way support where both of them can talk in real time when crimes are actually in place. They've actually said that the program has also proved effective, and it's only been up maybe a couple of weeks. And other than that, I'd like to thank you all for having me, and that's it for today.
Thank you, Councilmember Kilgore, for your update. And I'm really glad to have you join us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please. We have update from Commissioner Robert Presley, please.
Hey, thank you. You can hear me, correct? So our update, as we've already talked about last night, we opened up the restaurants from 30 to 50%. So we think that's going to be a great thing that can carry us here during these winter months up to the March. Also voted on the One Buncombe Fund, the 200,000, and thank y'all very much on the BC TDA of the 40,000. That's going to go a long way. One thing that I talked about last night was getting this money out quicker. We was looking at the small businesses. This is a very tough time in Buncombe County and Asheville right now, that we was going to start distributing around 3/31, March 31st. But we're going to try to get with them and speed this up with the donations coming in, and go ahead and use this money and probably try to help a lot of the small business stay afloat during this time here. So hopefully we can, instead of letting the money just sit here, we can get it out and spend it. But it's a tough time right now, but all the work everyone's doing, we're continuing, ready to bring in the new Asheville and get rid of the old and get these people back on the street here. And thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner Presley. All right, we'll go to the next slide, please. Any miscellaneous business?
Sure.
Yes, Andrew.
Thanks, Manchu. I just
Sure.
want to bring this up again. I know I brought it up in October and again in December. We've got $3 million sitting in the TPDF funds, and I'd love it if we as a board came out and said directly to our community and to our county commissioners and to our state legislators that we want this money to get out into the community, and that we think it's important that we use it for, whether it's businesses or my preference would be individuals, that this is $3 million that that we should be trying to direct and to put out into the community, and not sitting there for 6 months for us to figure out what's next for the TPDF. I think that I'm disappointed we haven't done anything thus far. I think we're failing our community if we don't get that $3 million out there. There was enough willpower last year to get the 5 million from the TPDF out in the community, and all the accolades for getting that out are deserved and warranted, but we have another opportunity right now with this 3 million, and I feel like it's slipping away, and I'd like to try to act on it before it's too late.
Thank you, Andrew. Last, when you did, this is January now, Andrew, when we did discuss this back in December, I said, I would go ahead and start making some calls and just kind of get feelers out. And I had this opportunity to talk to a few legislators, and it is the timeline for the state. A couple of things. One, it was really hard last time to get it done, even though there was the willpower and we were able to get it done. There was a lot of questions brought about the legality of using the funds that were collected for one reason, in this case TPDF, and to be used for something else. And I think we have and Sabrina on the call as well, if she can chime in on this, please. That was one. Even at the state level, there was a lot of discussion being held if it was even allowed to do what they did, which we were able to get it done, but even this time around, there's questions, and I think the Attorney General's office had flagged it as well, saying that there's some issues with this. So that's an ongoing concern over in the state right now. The timing wise, we are looking at bills to be introduced. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vic, but bills to be introduced, any local bills, it's not going to happen till the end of like March or April before anything will even go through, even if somebody's willing to do that for us. So we've had discussions, I've had people talk about it, and there is that enthusiasm, or I don't want to say that enthusiasm was the last time over at the state, but it's not there right now. I think that's just the feeling I got from discussions I've had, and I haven't had discussions with a whole bunch of people, but a few key people. So there's that. We did. We are trying to do whatever we can with the earned revenue to put it out in the community as fast as we can. And so please, Sabrina, you can join in if you need to, but that's just where we are right now, unfortunately.
Sure, and I'll just echo what Himanshu just said, in that you may recall that when we had the local bill passed last time, that there were constitutional issues raised in the summary report that the Attorney General's office issues as part of their summary of the entire bill. And, we addressed those, but certainly there were concerns raised. And one of the ways we were able to address those was by having Mountain BizWorks work to administer the fund, and by having, in the way that the fund was written, who could apply for the fund and who could get the grants for the fund. So, it certainly, there were a lot of questions that were raised, but again, the TPDF dollars, this board has to use them in congruence with the legislation. So it took a local bill last time, it would take a local bill this time, which has to be passed at the state level to be able to change the way you can use those dollars.
Which is exactly what I asked for, Sabrina. Just I'll reiterate that I'm asking our board to come out and to ask the legislature to get us a bill so that we can get this money into the community. Thank you.
Any discussion further from the board? And this is again one of those times where, I think I mentioned this last time, that I wish we were in a room talking this in person, because I think it's important. But it's hard to get. But
if I could jump in for a minute, Himanshu. I would say that I agree with Andrew's sentiment from the standpoint of that, wanting to do everything we can to support the community. I also happen to have talked with some people and have an understanding that there's not a large appetite at the state level to hear us ask for a bill to reallocate tax funds again, and I get that. And with the extensive uncertainty that remains for the rest of this year and beyond, I'd like to keep our powder dry a little longer and see. I know that we have the ability to allocate earned income. I'd love to see us attempt to do that with every dollar available in earned income, and whatever other budget reallocations we can do to make that work internally to free up more earned income, I think is warranted. But using what could potentially be our last, if they would even support us, attempt at reallocating funds at the state level so early, I don't know. I've learned that everything that we think we know, we typically don't know, and it all changes a week or two later. And I'm more of a proponent of keeping what we've got left dry, because I know $3 million is a lot of money, but it's less than what we did last time. And I know it went far. I know it was helpful, but I think we also saw how short the impact 5 million could go. Again, a good impact, but not enough to get everybody through the winter, get everybody to where business is back to usual. I would just be nervous and cautious about supporting something this early into the year, because we really just don't know. I mean, when you think about the new administration's goal of 1.5 million vaccines and what that means for getting the entire country vaccinated, we're not close to seeing this gone. And we can very well see an extreme shortfall on income and revenues this year, which leaves us in a really bad spot. So I really appreciate Andrew's sentiment and want us to do everything that we can without going to the legislature at this point.
Thanks, James.
Moncho, I would agree with James entirely. I think that if we are bringing back tourists, we have a compound effect. Not only are we bringing restaurants and hotels and businesses back, but we're also bringing employees back. I have 500 people that are unemployed right now from our resort. So I think the compound effect is to get people back to work and to get businesses healthy again so that they can hire employees and get the job done. So I think that should be our main focus right now. And I agree with what James said.
Thank you, Gary.
Mention that we have $17 million to bring tourists back when we're ready to bring them back. This $3 million isn't going to affect that at all.
No, it's not. Yes, but
sorry, Andrew, but I think that's unfortunately the bank balance versus usable funds and what they can be used for is something we have to tackle and grasp with before we can make statements like that. I believe, I know that the bank balance is high. I know that may make things look a certain way, but we have, we can't go for a broad sweeping legislative pass here in a month that says use whatever you want in your bank balance, use it for whatever you want for. We can't. We have a lot of things that we can use for certain things, a lot of things we can't. And what you're talking about is using the remaining funds that are for the TPDF and using them now. And that's why I'm cautious. That's why I'm conservative, because there's that separation of what funds can be used for and what they can't be. I don't want to see us dry up one fund with the assumption that it's going to be replenished.
Sure. Just when I hear someone saying we need to be focused on bringing, keeping our powder dry for bringing tourists back, this isn't money for bringing tourists back.
No, this is money for things that maybe we don't know are going to need to be supported in the next couple of months when we don't know that it's going to be backed. When we were sitting on 8 million in unspent TPDF, sure. But if you look at the list of the project sizes and how much money has to go into getting some of these done, we don't know what we could truly need to support that is critical to our success in the near term that we're just unaware of. And I just think that fund balance is lower than it's been in a long time and lower than we should be comfortable with from the standpoint of draining it, right? We have a lot of money already committed to other projects that we can't back out of. So it's a rock and a hard place. Again, I'm not saying that down the line there isn't a reason to support the idea. I'm just saying that with what we have left, I just think it's important to know that there's only so much that can go one direction. We don't want to just not have options sooner rather than later, right? We want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of the replenishment of that fund before I think we should commit to spending what's left in it. Because remember, nobody's going to come and save us. Nobody's going to come bail out a decision there that drains the fund. That's not going to happen.
Thanks, James and Andrew and Gary. Any further discussion or comments on this, please? All right, can we go to the next slide, please? All right, so public comments, as stated on this slide, we had members of the public were invited to submit comments via email to reply at explorasheville.com to 4 p.m. Yesterday. That was Tuesday, January 26th, and 4 comments were received by the deadline and they were emailed to the board. They will be put into the minutes for the meeting. I do want to ask staff if we can, for our next meetings and going forward, work on protocol for comments to be made at the meeting itself, as we have done when we were meeting in person. We had audience members in our meetings, and people when this section came on the agenda, they were we would ask for public comment. If we can look into that, please, for our next meeting and going forward, to have that same capability using Zoom.
Yes, we can
okay.
definitely take that on, Chairman.
And maybe come up with some protocols and how we can administer that, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Himanshu.
Yeah, sure. No, I think, yeah, so. And we'll make that announcement. Whatever the protocols are, we'll let everybody know way ahead of time.
We'll do the research on that, how to logistically put that into place, and then also the rules of engagement for the community and for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next, please. Oh, our next board meeting is on Wednesday, February 24th. And if there's nothing else, I would like to call for a motion to adjourn the meeting. I'm giving you guys back 30 minutes.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, John. Can we get a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Second, Durden.
Thank you, Brenda. We'll go to roll call vote again. Gary Froba,
Yes.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Sullivan,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, John. Kathleen Mosher,
Yes.
James Poole,
Yes.
and Himanshu Karbi, yes. Thank you, everybody, once again. And thank you, everybody that joined us for this meeting. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Himanshu.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.